Hi, my name is Owen Bastable. I'm a trainer with Project React. Thanks for checking out this short overview of how to reflect and use the results from your praise preference assessment. So what I'll do is go over a simple 5-step process for using the results for your own teaching practice or also for classroom or school-wide acknowledgement systems. So this is part 2. If you haven't had a chance to develop or create praise preference, I'd look at part 1 first. It'll walk you through how to develop what you see here on the screen. So what we'll be doing more today is thinking about how to take the example, in this case Tony and his other classmates, and think about the results that they share and how we might use them in our classroom and in our school. So to do this, you're going to need to get this worksheet. So it's linked here. It's also linked in an overview of the praise preference that I'll share at the end. So make sure you have this with you, or you can get it later, I guess, and review this with me. So what I'll do is just walk through a worked example from a teacher. So the first thing you'll do is look at the results from the students. So looking through all their assessments. What are the overall impressions you have? What did you learn? What surprised you, and what was consistent or inconsistent with what you expected? So for this teacher, they found out that students really liked getting high fives. What she didn't expect is that half the students didn't really like getting wow tickets for expected behavior. So the next step is looking at across all the assessments, what are some common patterns or likes or dislikes that stand out for you. So again, using the example, students like greeting at the door, being greeted at the door. They also liked peer-to-peer praise. What was noticeable in the results from this example are that students didn't like having their names put up on a star board, or they didn't like public recognition in that way. So the next step then is, as you start to think about the results that you're interpreting from student responses, thinking about how it is you currently deliver praise and what are the systems that you currently use to acknowledge the behavior that is expected for students in your school. So in this case, the teacher noticed that she mostly uses verbal praise and is thinking about maybe adding high fives, since it was something that students mentioned. It was something they liked. She also reflected on the fact that students don't all like being student of the week. They feel embarrassed. So she was thinking maybe she would write them more private notes and acknowledge them privately. Okay, so step 4 is focusing in now on a few students. So in this case, we'd recommend maybe looking at 5 students who you want to improve relationships with in your school. And this might be also something you can identify from looking at office discipline referrals, or students who have few positive relationships with adults in your school. So in this case, Lionel and Simone were students this teacher identified, and by looking at their praise preference assessments, she could see that getting fist bumps was important for Lionel, and he didn't like public praise. For Simone, being student of the week was really important, but the marble jar wasn't as important to her, and it's part because she said it just takes too long to get acknowledged. So this is a process you can identify students. This part of the process, identify specific students and use the results from their praise preferences. Okay, the final step is creating an action plan. And if you look at the final step on your worksheet, you'll see it has a box that includes who will be responsible, target date, and when you're going to complete these activities by. So giving you that example again, sharing the results with students, which is something we'd recommend doing, is you can just summarize and share out these are the things that most of you liked, what you disliked, and then here are some of the changes that I'm proposing to our acknowledgement systems. And then this other action is adding greeting at the door at the end of the day. So based upon the praise preference, the teacher saw that a lot of students like that, so she decided to add another greeting at the door at the end of the day, and she's planning to do that by this date. And then one thing you can do is actually have this reviewed with a coworker. So you might just ask a friend or colleague at school that this is what I'm hoping to do. I'm going to add greeting at the door at the end of the day, and then you can check in with them to see how it's going on a date that you put on this action plan. So wrapping up, again, if you haven't had a chance to create the praise preference assessment, I would definitely look or review part 1 again. And then also there's an overview of the strategy, so if you prefer just look at the steps on a form, this is a good resource to look at. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My email is on the slides. It's also here. Please reach out with any questions you may have. Thanks for checking this out.